Welcome back to... No, it's not Justin Talks Villa. This is the second episode in my slightly veered off structure of my podcasting life. And this is the second one of Fit at 50, my health and fitness and well-being journey. We had Danny on last week, who was really good. And this week we have got... What I'm going to say now is becoming a really good friend of mine, Indy. Who is basically the chap who I went through to get the Mounjaro. And he's very kindly agreed to come on and basically explain what it is, what it does, and how it's helping so many people. Because there is a lot of misinformation out there. But I will start again with a disclaimer like I did at the start of Danny's one. This is my decision. This is my journey. This is a decision I've come to after many, many years of trying to lose weight. And studying this for quite a few months and talking to a lot of people that have been on it. So this is by no means an endorsement to anybody to go out there and do it. If you do want to do it, go down the correct roads, go to the correct places, which Indy is one of them. And I'm sure he will agree with that anyway. So just be careful because there is a lot of charlatans out there. So Indy, thank you very much for joining me, mate.
No problem. Thank you for having me on as well, Justin. And so just a quick intro. So my name's Indy. I'm a clinical prescribing pharmacist. I'm based in a general practice in Cannock. And to be quite honest, my day-to-day job is all about chronic disease management. So I'm looking mainly at your hypertensive patients, high cholesterol diabetics, a lot of cardiovascular and chronic kidney disease patients. And really, this drug itself, so GLP-1s as a whole, this is a whole new era of medication now, and it's so broad, and it's a new emerging kind of treatment that can cover so many different things. So really, that's how I got into this, and for personal reasons as well. Family members are interested in it, and I thought, why not try and learn a bit about it? And then if I can help someone else get to a position where they're happy in themselves as well, why not?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is where a lot of people have come to this drug for help. And I'm not going to say it's the sort of last chance saloon, but I think for some people it is, if you've had a real problem with your weight your whole life and you just can't see an end to it, you see sort of the success stories of this. And any medication obviously comes with concerns. I mean, if you was to read a paracetamol leaflet, you'd probably be scared stiff about having a tablet. So obviously, you've got to be careful what you're putting into your body. So basically what we're going to do is Indy has worked out a real interesting structure of what to talk about starting from. And I did have some questions, so we'll just start that quick. This first question is, what is Mounjaro? Clueless, where did it spring from? As it sounds like a name of a volcano in Indonesia. So we'll go with the first bit, Indy, if you can, the history of GLP medicines and their use in treating patients.
I think this is one of the first things that people ask. People always say, I think social media has been a bit of a bad one with this as well, where suddenly all these celebs are starting piping up saying use these drugs and use these kind of medications and it'll help you with slimming and getting to a point. A lot of it you have to take with a pinch of salt with what you see on social media. So definitely don't just believe everything you read. GLP-1, so GLP is a medication, it's a class of drug. It started in the 1980s, so it's been around for decades now. It's been evolving and advancing, and it's reached a point now where we've got a drug which is a dual-acting GLP-1, so it's working on two different receptors in the same way, and it's much more effective than some of the previous ones that we saw back in the 80s, really. Since then, in between the 80s and the Mounjaro that we've got now, we've had things like Ozempic, which I'm sure you've probably seen as well.
Yeah.
You've got your Wegovy as well. Yeah. There are some tablet forms as well, so you've got Ribelsis. So it's really, this is such a dynamic, evolving kind of class of drugs, and it's really, really exciting to see what it can be doing from a health perspective. So the one thing I really want to stress a lot about is when I talk about patients starting in GLP-1, so I normally prescribe it in diabetics, and that's primarily what it's used for in the NHS. It's not, unfortunately, reached that point where it's licensed for everyone under the NHS umbrella, but it's all about your long-term health outcomes. So it's not a quick fix to just quickly, I want to be skinny for the summer because I want to go to Ibiza and sit in O Beach with Wayne Lineker. It's all about, let's try and get you to a position where you're reducing your cardiovascular risk later on in life, and we don't want any of them complications. We try to use everything to our advantage at the moment. So really, that's where it's come from.
What I've said to Indy before we come out, so I'm not going to interrupt him and be rude, but I've said when I come to a part where I'm going to think of something to ask him, and I think this is interesting. I think, like you say, the origin of Mounjaro is for health, and like you say, it's been around for a long, long time, and it is to treat chronic diseases. But I think we've got to the point now when it's almost to the sort of the man on the street. It seems to have exploded, and everybody talks about is Mounjaro. And I think the way it's been twisted in the media is that it is being used specifically for what you're saying is brilliant. Get an injection, lose 4 stone, go on holiday, have a 6-pack. And the reality should be, in my opinion, this is how I want to use it, is I want my health to improve. I want to be fitter, healthier, be around for longer. I'm on medication for my blood pressure, which I'd love to come off. That's people at work. I'm telling people I'm on it, and I'm asking them. They're saying, "What is the reason you're on it?" And I say that it's because I want to come off the medication. Well, how much do you want to weigh? I said I haven't even thought about where I want to be on my weight. I'm just thinking I want to come off the medication. I want to be healthier. I want to be fitter, and this hopefully will help me. And I think it's a shame that it's become a bit of a thrown around subject, that it's just cheating, or it's for, I don't know what the word is. It's for just for looks, and it's not. Obviously, the byproduct of losing weight is you feel better and you look better. So I get that, but like you said, the actual idea of it isn't for that, is it?
No, not at all. It's a bonus, isn't that? It's just a bonus. And
Yeah.
I think to hit the nail on the head, it's a stigma now. So anybody who's gone down the route of trialing Mounjaro, or they've been on it, or they've been on previous ones as Ozempics, they've been classed as a cheat, a fraud. Why can't you go to the gym? Why can't you diet or do this like everyone else? But unfortunately, not everyone. Everyone's slightly different. So what one person can do will not necessarily work for absolutely everyone.
I think also what an interesting thing I've noticed, and I've had so many messages of people that I've known for a long, long time that have been on it for months and they haven't said anything.
Yeah.
And that, people that have lost weight and they've gone, yeah, I've been on it for 4 months. I've been on it for 3 months. And I think it's a shame that they can't come out and say, do you know what? I'm taking medication for my health.
Yeah.
You wouldn't not tell someone you're taking an ibuprofen because you need it for something, or you wouldn't tell someone I'm taking blood pressure medication. And I think it's, this is why one of the reasons I wanted to do this and come out and actually talk openly about it is I don't want to shy away from it. And I think if it can help people, I think it's important.
What you've done is you've got a platform that you can build awareness from, Justin, which I really, really appreciate what you're doing. So you've got yourself now, you've reached the point where you've tried loads of different things. And I know when we first spoke last week as well, we went through your past history with not just your meds and medical history, but also what have you tried in the past, your diet, your exercise. But also you're actively looking, not only are you going to be trying the injection, but you're looking at your nutritional standpoint as well, which Dan did a fantastic talk the other day. But also what you can do about your exercise. It's a wonderful trifecta of things that you're trying to do. And that's exactly how to kind of progress and get the most out of Mounjaro as well. So not only are you going to be reducing any health issues later on in life, but actually you're building habits, really good habits that you can sustain the weight in the long term. Because as much as these are safe in the long term, these sorts of drugs, and we're using the diabetics routinely, and we don't say to them, look, we're going to take you off it in 6 to 12 months. They're on it until something else new comes out that's more effective that we can switch them over to. When it's not directly for diabetes treatment, we don't normally I don't personally advocate that you need to be on it long term. I think reach a point where you're happy with your weight, and then looking at your habits that you've developed over that period of time to help sustain it in the long run. So
I think it's right, and I think like you said, it's the 3 things that's important to me, and I think that's doing a lot of research. I didn't just jump into it.
Yeah.
Having it to suppress, which is the effectiveness of this is suppression.
Yeah.
Adding to that the retraining of your mental awareness to eating, and also throwing in exercise as well. I've tried every single diet known to man. I've been on Weight Watchers. I've been on Slimming World. I've tried the shakes. I've tried Slim Fast. I've tried, 5-2 diet. I've tried everything. what do you call it when you don't eat for so many hours and then you start eating. Fasting, yeah, and everyone, and I've had people in the comments, and I don't mind it. People saying, I'd rather just go to the gym and eat less. Yeah, I totally understand that. And if I could have done that, and I'll be brutally honest with you, Indy, I lack willpower. And a lot of people do. They've all got very good intentions. I want to do this. But when it comes down to it, when you've had a rubbish day at work, or when something bad's happened, or something good's happened, it's so easy just to go, I'm just going to have a takeaway tonight. I love it. Brilliant, blah, blah, blah. So to be making better decisions is my goal. And I've already seen that in the 4 days I've been on it. Whether that's a placebo type effect where I'm so focused on wanting to be better, that when I do decide I need to eat, then I'm making a better decision.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right there. I think you touched on it. Emotional eating is a massive factor, and it impacts a hell of a lot of people. A bad day at work, stresses with family, whatever it could be, and automatically we're thinking, what can we have? Some people go start having eating meals. Some people might have a drink. It could be so many different factors. You can fall in it's a tricky, steady slope downhill, that is. So trying to manage that and trying to get to a point where you actually can kind of build that behavior where you'll be able to deal with them issues in the future. It's really good. So yeah, I think I was interested to come to see how you've been getting on a bit later on after we go.
Yes, we'll come to that. So where are we now? Mechanism of action, is that where we're at now?
So I'm going to try and keep it as simple as possible, trying to blow up with jargon.
For me.
Yeah. I'll try to do it. But in essence, what we're trying to do is these GLP meds, so that's what we call GLP-1s, we're working on receptors. They're binding to receptors. They're increasing your insulin. Now, we need insulin in the body to help metabolize and break down glucose. Too much glucose in our bloodstream is what kind of pushes us into becoming diabetic, type 2 diabetic. So that comes with a host of other issues as well. So as much as one of the problems we've got is it's so much easier to kind of source bad foods as opposed to kind of cooking and
processed foods.
Processed foods. I mean, Danielle touched upon that as well. It's just an easy thing to do. And taking the time to kind of cook and eat healthier options, it's a lot harder, but that's what we're trying to avoid. And that's why there's a huge drive now that we're trying to stop that from occurring now, especially with younger people who are coming out and they're just eating fast foods left, right, and center because it's easier. Such a fast-paced world. But so in essence, that's how it works. It decreases glucagon. So glucagon basically pops up out of the body and it tells the body, look, we need to release more glucose. So we need to stop that from happening to keep your sugar levels under control. It slows down your gastric emptying. So now this is where you'll be experiencing like that satiety effect where you're feeling fuller for longer. So that's one of the bonuses of this. So it slows that down, gives you that feeling of fullness. And with Mounjaro, what's slightly different with some of the older ones is it works on a different receptor called GIP, and GIP is primarily to do with insulin. So really works really well. The dual action, the way that they've managed to kind of construct this drug has been fantastic. Moving forward, they are now in the process and they're doing further studies to make a third action GLP drug. So watch your space. In the next year to 2 years, Mounjaro will be a thing of the past and it'll be something else that's going to be more effective, probably better tolerated. So there's loads of different advances that we're seeing at the moment. But what the best thing is, people are looking at this drug and looking at different conditions it can help with as well. And it's not just diabetics. So that's what one of the bonuses are at the moment. I know we've kind of gone over type 2 diabetics, but why are we not treating type 1? So type 1, slightly different to type 2. Type 1 need insulin. So these are the guys that need to administer insulin on a daily basis. Now, the simple answer, there isn't enough evidence yet to say that this is safe for them guys, because when you're administering stuff like Mounjaro, you're increasing your insulin. So we're trying to mitigate that, having that.
It becomes too unstable, is that what you're saying? It's hard to sort of balance it all out,
pretty much. So it hasn't yet reached a point where it is suitable in type 1 diabetics. So unfortunately for them guys, they are just with the insulin. And with them guys, they struggle with weight as well. And that's another thing. So it's hopefully we'll see something that will come on the market that will be safer for type 1 patients as well. Pretty much that's in very layman's terms is a mechanism of action. it works on your hormones. So that's what a lot of people come to me and ask me. So hormones, what does it do? Two main hormones. It works on loads of other stuff, but I'll just touch on the two. You've got incretin and you've got ghrelin. Incretin is basically telling you, I'm full, I'm done. Put that rest of the food down, I'm not having any more. Ghrelin is the opposite. Ghrelin's that hunger. And that's what we used to call it in trailing gremlins. So when you're having gremlins, it's that hunger kicking in. And it's saying, look, let's go out, let's have a drink, let's go get a kebab. That sort of like action. So what we're doing is we're increasing your incretin, so keeping your satiety, your fullness effect up.
Fullness, yeah.
And we're trying to limit how much of that ghrelin actually is working.
So that desire to eat. He's like,
exactly.
Oh, I'm hungry. I could do with that.
That's exactly it. So pretty much that's the kind of main hormones it works on. I'll be coming on a bit later with certain kind of patients in different conditions that we try and avoid in. And one of them is not avoid necessarily, but those people that we have to be more cautious with. And those are patients with like contraception, HRT, etc. We'll come to that a bit later. Pretty much from a kind of like mechanism and action and a hormone perspective, that's generally what it is. The licensing of weight loss, going back to that initial question where it's just popped up, Mounjaro was one of the first ones to be licensed predominantly for weight loss. So regardless of being a diabetic or not, the other ones needed that. So with Mounjaro in 2023, so we're looking, it's going to be about 2 years now, 2 and a bit years, come on the market. For anyone with a BMI over 30, you were technically eligible for it. There are some other issues that we had to kind of double check, and that's what we normally do pre-screening before we start any patients, but those guys were ready to go. You can start it with a BMI of 27 upwards, but they need to have high blood pressure, a bit like yourself, or diabetic.
Other conditions as well,
Other things, So this is one of the leading things. This is why Mounjaro is a little bit more kind of broader, and you can treat more people. And it's why a lot of people are actually using it at the moment, as opposed to some of the previous ones where predominantly for those diabetic patients as well. And some of the studies as well. So they've done 2 massive studies, the SURMOUNT-1 and SURMOUNT-2 studies. Now, these are huge international clinical trials. And what they did was they compared the drug in Mounjaro is called tirzepatide, and that drug against a placebo. And what they wanted to do was they worked their way up the dosage schedule with the Mounjaro and over 52 weeks. And they did the same with those patients, which just gave them a placebo. And they noticed a significant weight loss in those with Mounjaro to those with the placebo. And then another trial then came out after, which compared Mounjaro versus Ozempic, and that was a SURPASS-2 trial. If anyone is interested, so if any of your followers do want any of these trials, they can have a read. If they are interested in that, I'm more than happy. I can email you over the they can have a little dig around. So they're the main trials, and that's what's really kind of given us all a little bit of a kick to say, actually, these are evidence-backed meds. So these are really, really kind of supportive.
Which is important for people because, this is something that has to be put out there to allow people to read, these long-term studies, because that's one of the worries, isn't it? Like I know during COVID when they rolled out the jabs quite quickly, the worry was, how can they get them out so quickly and be effective when there's been no clinical trials on them? But I think it just shows that medicine it's phenomenal, isn't it? What they can do, the NHS and everything, we are very blessed in this country to have an NHS like this that can help so many people.
I totally agree. And you said it there. So having evidence back to these medications kind of gives you that extra confidence in them as well. It's confidence in those prescribing it, and it's confidence in those using it as well. So that's what's been really fantastic with that. Moving on to the visceral and subcutaneous fats, I thought I'd touch on this, Justin, just to kind of give you an idea. So 2 different types of fats. You've got your subcut fat, anything you can pinch. So your back of your arm, belly.
I've got plenty of that, Indy. Plenty of that. I can pinch more than an inch.
So we've got subcutaneous fats, which are your pinchable ones. And we don't necessarily think they're the most dangerous of fats.
No.
So that's normally the top of your body. And it's one of the functions is like temperature control and regulation for your body. The one that we consider negative, that can cause negative health outcomes, is called visceral fats. Now, these are deep within your abdomen, and they are lining your organs in and around your body. Now, that is what we associate with increased risk of health issues. So with these types of drugs, it works directly on the fats as well, particularly on visceral fats. So you will notice with patients I've seen, they're like looking at the scales, oh, I've only lost a pound, but actually my t-shirt's fitting so much better. Your visceral fat is all around your organs. You're breaking that down. You're finding t-shirts that have been at the bottom of the cupboard for a year. Actually, you know what? I'm fitting into it. I feel quite happy in it as well. So and that's just from a vein perspective, but behind the scenes, it's actually doing wonders for your body as well. They did another study as well, and what they found was through a multitude of different kind of like scans, MRIs, DEXAs of your abdomen, they found that with these drugs over a period of time, the reduction in your visceral fat is just gradually just breaking down, and it's really effective in getting your organs back up and running again, because in essence you're suffocating them with fat.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a silent killer, isn't it? Because you can't see it, you sort of don't worry about it. And
exactly.
I've suffered quite badly with health anxiety for many years now. It is under control now with medication. But one of my big concerns is, and that anybody that does suffer from this health anxiety is what you don't know about, and I often think, because of my weight, what is wrong, what's happening with my heart, what is happening with the things that are very important to your body to make it work. So I think to know that this will also hopefully help in that respect as well is huge. It's very positive for me.
Definitely. It'll be really interesting. I'm really glad that I can kind of join you on your journey as well, because it's.
Are you coming to the gym as well? Is that what you're doing?
I'll be there to make sure you're there, to be honest.
Thanks.
And then it's dead rewarding at the end of it. I've got guys that I hope they don't mind as well. And I spoke to them earlier that I might mention them, but I've got guys who I work with in the GP surgery who've tried it, who I've we've done like a trial run with them, and they have got to such amazing results now where they've come up with Mounjaro. They've completely changed their health habits. These are people that were scared to go to the gym. They were self-conscious of what people are going to be looking at me. I'm not body confident myself. And now they're smashing the gym out 4 or 5 times a week. Their diet is optimized. There's no more walking into the reception. There's no more bad foods. I've kind of made it a dead boring place, to be quite honest. And it's all health kick there. And it's really good. And these are young guys as well. So like they've got their like kids and whatnot. They've got all their rest of their life to look forward to. They've made them to get themselves in a better position, which is fantastic.
Sounds absolutely fantastic to me.
One of the other things as well, Justin, that I wanted to mention is quite important because it impacts you directly as well, is the drive the NHS has with controlling blood pressure and cholesterol. It's a massive, massive drive. And I think everyone should be aware.
We've actually had a question on this. Do you think this is a good time to bring this question up as well?
Oh, perfect. Yeah. This is absolutely.
What does it do to cholesterol levels, especially, I don't know what LDI or LDL is, in a slightly overweight male, not really bothered about losing weight?
Yeah.
So would this tie in with this bit?
Yeah, in essence, yeah. So what we're looking at, so cholesterol, so LDL is in essence your bad cholesterol. You've got your HDLs, high density, and your low density. Your low density, you're bad. High density, you're good. Now, what the NHS are doing, I'd probably need a little bit more information to see what other health issues that that chap has got. But they're aiming to try and get a target of 2 or less. Now, that is slightly different depending on if he's got other health concerns. But generally, they're really pushing now to try and get your bad cholesterol as low as possible. Now, bad cholesterol, it's basically fatty deposits. So just imagine that's your artery wall lining, and you're getting streaks of fat and it's lining the arteries. What happens is it forms a plaque. So it will kind of harden, form a plaque. And at one stage, it may rupture, and that will turn into, in essence, like a clot. Move around your body, risk of strokes, risk of heart attacks, loads of other issues that can cause. And to kind of tackle it now as soon as possible to get people's cholesterol under control. It saves lives, saves costs.
Once you've got that build up in your arteries, is there any way of getting rid of that's there, or do you have to just stop it from building more?
Statins. Now coming on to it, statins.
Yeah,
another one.
My dad's on statins.
Yeah, so whenever I come to a patient, I talk about it. Statins are what I talk about most of the time during work, and everyone straight away wants to put the phone down. So there's so many myths. It's very similar to Mounjaro, to be honest. I could talk all day about them, but statins, not only do they lower your bad cholesterol, they also, in essence, like a kind of like side thing they do, they create a film over these plaques. So it kind of protects it from rupturing. Not to say definitely won't rupture, but
it lowers the risk.
Definitely, yeah. Which is, and it's one of the things that the Daily Mail doesn't write about. It only writes about the bad things about statins.
Yeah.
So, and
surprise.
People love, this is it. People love a bit of the Daily Mail. So, but yeah, so statins is normally the treatment. Now with Mounjaro, naturally, because you're going to be eating better, because you're going to be looking, well, hopefully you're eating better, and you're making more conscious decisions with your kind of foods that you are eating, because you're not going to be as hungry, hopefully, as you were previously. You're not going to be eating any of your crapper foods. You're going to be having less fatty foods, probably better options with oilier fishes, white meats. You're going to be lowering your LDL concentration in your body. So there's a few other ways it works as well. Lowering your body weight is a massive way as well. Lowering your cholesterol level as well.
The weight loss is just the key to a lot of illnesses, isn't it? And if you know, it's not a guarantee that you're not going to become ill with anything. But I know lots of people that are very thin, and they've got high blood pressure. So it can be sort of passed down from genetics, can't it? So I think weight loss is connected to so many things. To lose weight is such an important avenue, I think.
Definitely. Just coming back to that, one thing for that chap to note as well, even if your diet is optimized, you're in immaculate health, and you're exercising all the time, hereditary factors do play a part with high cholesterol.
Yes.
Family history, parents, grandparents, if they've got it, there's a likelihood that you may also have high cholesterol, even if you are doing everything. And I've started patients in their late 20s on statins. Like that would be unheard of 10 years ago. But having a conversation with patients as early as that to help get their control going straight away. It's something that we're looking at the long run, really. It's a long-term outlook. So
100%, yeah. So we're moving on to uses of these medications beyond diabetes and obesity.
Yeah. So this is the exciting thing now. So used to be just with diabetics and weight loss. Now actually we're using it for loads of other things. I think we spoke about this when we first spoke about yourself. And it benefits so many other things. Now the research is still coming out. There is a study, so I'm going to have to refer back to it. It's called the SURPASS-CVOT study. So this is still going on in the background at the moment, and it's specifically to do with Mounjaro and cardiovascular outcomes. So it's looking at how it can benefit those with what we just spoke about, those with high cholesterol, with uncontrolled blood pressure, and improved cardiac function. So that's a study, and we're waiting for the results to come out with that. So as soon as I hear, I'll let you know with that, Justin. But some of the other things that it's starting to kind of creep up and looking into is stuff like Alzheimer's disease, PCOS, fatty liver disease, chronic kidney disease, sleep apnea. So it's branching further and further afield.
Well, would you believe my mum has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dementia, and my dad gave me a big double-page spread in the paper that was in the Express and Star, I think, last week, and it did mention the clinical trials of Mounjaro and Alzheimer's. So it's wow. If they could find some kind of help with that, I know how debilitating it's starting to become for our family. So anything that can help that will be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and I think this is what we need to get rid of, that initial stigma of people using stuff like these sorts of drugs. But actually, are they using it for weight loss, or are they using it for something completely different?
Yeah,
you can see silent disease. You can't see silent diseases.
No.
So for people to kind of straight away say, "Oh, you're using a cheap drug," It's not necessarily what they're actually using it for. So
No.
the time will tell, and fingers crossed we do start to see its application in more of these things in a successful way. So yeah, really exciting stuff. So we'll see what happens with that. I think the next one is to do with side effects. Now, this is one of the main ones. Everyone loves to talk about side effects.
Everybody's talking about side effects.
And in every single box of medication, whatever you get from paracetamol, the side effect list is as long as your arm. So the manufacturers love to cover their own back, and it is important that with every medication anyway, you definitely try and give that a read, so at least you're aware and you're informed of the stuff that you're actually taking. In generally speaking, from my experience and for the patients, both using it for weight loss predominantly and in diabetics, it's normally gastro issues that you might experience. So stuff like nausea, changes in bowel pattern, possible bloating. Very rarely would stuff like vomiting occur, but it's always something that might be there as well. You might get some sulfur burps as well. The vast majority of these side effects normally do subside, normally after about 5 days, and that would be if you've just brand new to it and you've just started any sort of GLP-1, or if you've increased the dose. Let's say, for example, 2.5 milligram, you've done it for 4 weeks and you stepped up to a 5, there is a possibility that you might start to see some side effects. It's not to say some people don't tolerate the drug, and with those people, obviously we discontinue and we have to go back to the drawing board and look what other options are available. But generally speaking, from my experience, a lot of people tolerate it. They might get some side effects to start with, but it's things that they can manage themselves, and it's not something that's completely debilitating. They're not able to.
No, I've had none so far.
I think excellent. So that's really positive. So hopefully,
tiredness actually is tiredness one.
It can be, fatigue can be one.
Yeah.
I
found I've been a bit tired the last couple of days. I've really nodded off. I mean, I have been to the gym, which probably doesn't help, but I found that I've nodded off in the afternoons the last couple of days. But whether that is, I don't really know.
Yeah, it could be because you're changing everything. You're doing a load of different things at the same time. You're changing your diet, exercising now as well. So there's loads of different factors at play.
I don't recognise myself, to be honest. I'm totally. Fatigue can be one, but mainly they're the kind of your top main ones. Yes.
There can be, in a very rare circumstance, something called pancreatitis. Now, in essence, your pancreas is where we are releasing your insulin, and it can sometimes get inflamed. This has only happened, they're digging out the details of the prevalence when they've done the studies on it, and it happened so rarely. It was 0.2 to 0.6% prevalence, and this was a study of over 3,500 people. So the prevalence was very, very small. However, it's definitely worth noting, anyone who does choose to kind of go down this sort of treatment, make sure they do have this discussion with the person that they're actually having this with, prescribing it from as well. So definitely bear that in mind. And it is more prone in those patients with a history of pancreatitis, with a history of gallstones, and
which is
alcohol.
which is why it's very important to go down the correct route, do your proper screening, talk to the professionals, tell them everything, do not hold anything back, make sure you tell them every single bit of information, because this is there to help you, and if you do want to try go down this route, then make sure you give the correct information, and if it's not for you, then it's not for you for a good reason, but definitely make sure you tell everybody what issues you have.
I totally agree. Yeah, and I think the one thing that someone told me ages ago, and it was about something completely unrelated to this, if something's too good to be true, and you're seeing something on social media where someone's flogging a year's supply of Mounjaro for 100 quid, it's too good to be true. There's something not right with it, so stay away. Try and stick to your main providers. I think there's loads of them out there. They've got loads of reviews, and they're regulated, which is amazing.
Yes.
So I think, that's one of the things. So, you're 100% right, Justin. People need to be honest with them as well and ask them far away as many questions as they can. One of the other, we call it contra-indications, is when they were doing pre-trials before they moved on to human trials, they were doing it on mice and rats. And what they found was there was an increased risk of something called thyroid C cell tumors, and that was in mice. Now, they did further trials in humans, and they found there was no clear evidence that these medications can cause any increased risk in humans. However, what they say is there's a certain group of patients that with diagnoses of MTC. I won't go into the name. The name is as long as my arm. MTC and men's too. So patients with a history of that, they tell them avoid it. So we're not going to try it with you. So definitely worth, if you've got any kind of existing health condition,
just be honest, like you say. Yeah, tell them everything. Yeah.
So at least then they can screen you then appropriately. Yeah, and I think the next one is about
contraceptive, HRT. Neither of them would concern me, but obviously it's important to go through everything.
Yeah, so I won't go too in depth with this because I'll try and keep it more to do with your particular case study, Justin. But those who are on contraception, so we're talking about oral tablets, mini pills, combined pills, and those who are on HRT as well. There is some more guidance now on how this drug, because it's slowing down your metabolism, it can affect the efficacy of these drugs in the body. So those who are on contraception need to be extra cautious as well. So extra barrier methods. But if anyone is currently or looking at starting Mounjaro, they need to have that conversation as well if they're on any sort of HRT or contraception medication. And the one that I really wanted to stress today, any patients who are looking to conceive and have kids. Now, this is something that there's no clear data to say there is any kind of risks associated. Like we hear about some of the terrible drugs in the past that's caused child defects and whatnot. They have said though to definitely avoid GLP-1s if you are pregnant or looking to conceive, and they ask for at least a minimum. The NICE guidelines, which is what we normally use, the basis for most of the medication in the UK, says a minimum of 1 month. You need a washout period of 1 month before you conceive. But I normally say a minimum of 2. But everyone's rules are slightly different. But that's where we did our training with the National Weight Management Program. They were quite aggressively told us 2 months, 2 months. I think it's just to make sure safety first. But yeah, definitely bear that in mind as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So we're going on to me now, I do believe. You want to use me as the lab rat?
I do, pretty much, yeah. You're in the hot seat now, Justin.
I'm in the hot seat. So I think we'll just sum it up basically now. And thank you so much for coming on. I do really appreciate it. You know, when I decided to go down this route, I really didn't know where to go. And to be clear, our wives work at the same place, so they know each other. And she spoke to your wife about it and said, right, if you do want to go down this route, talk to my husband, Indy. She does it as well, I think, doesn't she?
Yeah,
she's a pharmacist as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, that conversation we had when I'd sent through my screening form put me totally at ease. You know, you're a great guy. You've said all the way through this from the first conversation we had, any problems, phone me, message me. I can give you any advice you want. So to have that knowledge of I've got somebody I can talk to if I have any issues is brilliant. And I think, again, I'm trying to look at it sensibly. And I think that the key takeaways are, and they're exactly the same as when I started, were this is a very, very good drug and it's doing fantastic things, but it's not a magic bullet. You can't put it in and expect to do nothing and it's just going to work for you. You can't expect to put it in for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, hit your goal, then stop and expect to carry on living the way you was before, because that's what will happen again. You'll just go back to how you was before. The whole ethos for me, and I can't express this enough, and I'm not trying to tell everybody how to live their lives, but this is how I'm looking at it. Use it to your advantage. Use it as a bit of a cheat code to say, I'm going to get rid of the food noise. I'm going to get rid of my hunger pains that drive me to eat crap. And I'm going to refocus, retrain, and get to a point where I can come off it. I feel confident to come off it to a point where I eat better, train better, and just live better. And that's, for me, is what this drug is all about. And I think anybody really needs to know that, because it will help you, but you've got to use it in the right way. Do you agree?
Yeah, 100%. I think you've hit the nail on the head. There's absolutely no point, and I don't engage with any people or individuals who want to start Mounjaro unless they're willing to go make the actions outside of Mounjaro as well. So be it diet, making sure you're not eating any crap, and you're actually looking. So it'll be interesting. I'd love to talk to Dan in more depth about what kind of like the more of the nutritional side of it as well. I'd love to kind of learn a bit more about that. But making sure you're actually making decent long-term changes to your diet that you're willing to adhere with as well. And also, once you're confident enough, like I'm seeing with a couple of guys now who have come off treatment, being able to go to the gym, confident, go in there, absolutely smashing out, going for a run, doing some weights, swimming, that sort of stuff. You have to make sure that we're making long-term changes here.
We've got a couple of questions actually. Well, they're both very similar, but we'll go through them. Everyone I know took it, reached their target weight. That's a positive. Came off it and then went back on it once they'd put the weight on again. Is there an exit strategy that works? And secondly, what is the long-term success of weight staying off after treatment? Lots of quick fixes end up in the person gaining more weight than lost. And I agree with both of those things, but that's like anything, you know, if you went on any diet and you found it successful, the minute you come off it and carry on doing the thing you did before that got you in the trouble, you're obviously going to come put the weight back on. Yeah. I think one of the best bits of advice I've ever heard with dieting, and I've never actually stuck to it, is never say you're going on a diet, because if you're saying you're going on a diet, that's indicating that at some point you're coming off it. So you are basically saying, for 9 months, I'm going to go on a diet, eat better, train better, sleep better, live better. But after that 9 months, when I've got to where I want to get to, I'm going to stop that, because I've got to where I've got to, and I'm going to go back to eating takeaways and not exercising. So I think that's the important part of this is a way of helping you get to the point where you want to get to, but that it doesn't stop there. I can't lose 4 stone, come off this, and then expect to keep 4 stone off if I don't carry on eating well, carrying on exercising, and carry on living a healthier life. It's impossible, whether I'm on Mounjaro or not. All Mounjaro is doing for me is helping me become healthier. That's how I see it. And there's loads of people out there. I had a comment today about just go to the gym and eat less. Yeah, brilliant. But I need this to help me do those 2 things. Yeah. And that's a good thing. If I can get to that point with this, then that's a positive in my mind. It's not for other people and it's not for everyone, and that's fine. But for me, that's how I feel like I'm going to change my life.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And you said it there, it's not for everyone. So if someone chooses that they want to go down the diet purely and exercising, fine. As long as it works for them and they're getting the right results for them. The one thing I think for those questions as well, for them followers, is just imagine a Nike tick. So you're starting the end of the tick and it goes down, it goes up like that with your Mounjaro. So just imagine that's time. Your weight is coming down here. So your weight is sitting at, let's say 10 stone, and you want to get to 6, for example. You're sitting here. As you're doing your dose, your weight is dropping. You're going to reach either a target point where you're happy, or you're going to reach a plateau where your body just naturally just doesn't want to go any further. And that's a safe point here. You don't continue to go further. But when you reach this point, you expect, if you don't continue them changes that you've made with your diet and exercise, your weight's going to go back up in the exact same, and you're going to be back to square one. What you want to do is, once you reach this plateau, you want to slow that. So you will naturally gain a little bit of weight, and that's just as your body's adjusting, because you're no longer having that sort of medication in your system.
But then that's on you to maintain it, isn't it? You can't blame anybody after that. You can't say, well, that medication hasn't worked, because it obviously has to get you to that point. There's only you to blame if you fall off the wagon. Like anything, if you go back to where you was before, you're going to fall back into the same trap. So it's utterly pointless doing this if you're just going to go, sod it, I'm just going to carry on doing what I did before.
I think with the first of the 2 questions, they mentioned that they've seen some, I think was it someone's mate, I can't remember the question now. So everyone I know, they've reached their target weight, came off it, perfect. One thing to note as well, depending on what dose and strength they were on their Mounjaro, there's no specific guidance as to weaning off it. So let's say they're on 10 milligram, it goes up to 15 milligram. They've reached their ideal weight, happy days. Now what do? Let's say they've gone cold turkey and they've not, they've stopped. There is a risk that your weight will gradually come back up. However, what I would normally suggest is do a gradual weaning process down as well.
Come back down the ladder as well. Yeah,
come back down. It varies. It varies with different people. So depending on how they responded, how their weight loss has been throughout the whole process, this is where it's really important that they engage with the person who's prescribing it for them. You want to be as familiar as possible. That's what I love talking to the people that I've got under my care. That I love seeing their journey, where they've had slip ups, what we can do to kind of help them evolve and get to where they need to be. I think that's one thing to bear in mind. How have they come off it as well? So staggered approach is normally what I'd suggest, but every prescriber's their own with that. There's no guidance with that.
Fantastic. So we'll leave it there. I'm sure we'll get you back on at some point, Matt, down the line, hopefully, when I've lost a little bit of weight, and we can have another chat about how we're going and any other questions we get. I will say to anybody watching, if anybody wants to get in touch with Indy, who wants to maybe, he's thinking about it, possibly going down this road, even if they just want to talk to you and have a one-on-one like I did, then that'd be fine, wouldn't it? I can put them in touch with you.
That's fine. Yeah.
So we can do that. Yeah. So if anybody wants to get in touch with Indy and have a private conversation, if they're not sure about it or wants to ask any questions, then put them in the comments here. I can always get in touch with Indy and get back to you. We'll do another one in a few weeks' time, and we'll see how we're getting on. But thanks ever so much for spending this 40-odd minutes with me. I really appreciate. I do honestly, genuinely, really appreciate your time helping me. I know you help a lot of people, but hopefully we can together get to that point where I'm at last fit and healthy.
But no, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me on, Justin. I really
no problem. We'll get you back again. Thanks, Indy.